Welcome back, guys, to the latest episode of our Manchester United rebuild. When you were last with us, we did have that another boring draw with Crystal Palace, and I did say I was going to play through January, make some transfers, had a few ideas of who I'd like to bring in. So let's just start with that. Let's see what transfers we were able to pull off, or see who left, see who came in. So I'll be honest, guys, nothing really happened in the January transfer window. This guy did come in. It was due to come in the January transfer window anyway. He's already unhappy because I've left him out of the Champions League squad. I didn't have a place for him. There's still plenty of time for him to develop, and he is going to get plenty of game time. So I'm not worried. I'm sure he'll get over it. He'll probably be in the Champions League squad next season. In terms of any other players in and out, we tried to get rid of Anthony Martial, but at £250,000 a week, which is just ludicrous there. We did absolutely get zero interest in anyone wanting to actually buy him now. He is in contract talks with a couple of teams, if it's going to let me, with the likes of Lyon and Marseille. Makes sense with him being French. To be honest, quite frankly, they could have had him now for all I care. He's not playing. His wages is ridiculous. The finances are an issue because the club decided to cut the wage budget there. And my projection of fixing the finances isn't exactly going to plan right now. Even though I'm trying to get players on lesser wages, it's not going to plan. I'm hoping with the likes of Martial leaving at the end of the season, that'll cut the wages because if say I bring someone in to replace him, I'm probably not going to give him £250,000 a week. Another player I did look to offload as well. It may be a little bit of a surprise, but Palestri there, he just doesn't look like he's going to be up to the standard. And quite frankly, there's quite a few players in front of him. Even Ante's in front of him now. You've got Jadon Sancho in there. We have brought that backcourt in, who came in January as well, who was due back from Argentina. And speaking of Antony, even though he has been playing some games recently, I have been playing him in the squad. He now finds himself back out of the squad, back outside, out of the, not even on the bench. I don't actually have any place for him now that Sancho is back. Again, tried to offload him, brought his asking price down and down and down, played with different ideas, absolutely zero interest in him. So again, he's another one that's going to be here to the end of the season. At least this season we will use him a little bit, but again, we can't offload him. It would have been nice to get some cash in because we could really do with some cash right now. And then you had Christian Eriksen, who I was reluctant to offload. I mean, he is still here, but he doesn't want to sign a new contract. He's 32-year-old. His contract runs out at the end of the season. He's on quite a big wage. Don't want to be here. We don't want his wages. Quite frankly, I was looking to let him go, but ever seems to be the theme in this Manchester United save. The hardest part of this entire rebuild seems to be actually trying to offload our players. Nobody wants any of our players. And that's the hardest part when you're trying to get rid of all these expensive players on silly wages. Eriksen not being one of them, but he doesn't want to sign that new contract, and nobody wants to sign them. But again, another one at the end of the season, his wages will be off our books. We do then not have the issue with Scott McTominay. I don't want to sell him. I think he would be a good utility man to keep around the club. I extended his contract by a year. We had the option to extend, and he absolutely wasn't happy about it. He basically came to me annoyed as to why I would extend his contract when he had no interest in extending it. Well, the reason why I extended it, Scott, is because I didn't want you to leave on a free transfer at the end of the season. I wanted him to stay, to be honest, but quite frankly, again, even though I had extended a contract, I did try and sell him for his sake, but again, nobody was interested. There seems to be a theme here. The only actual departure of note was that of Harry Maguire there. He obviously went in the January transfer window for $13.5 million to Monaco. But again, he wasn't playing, and obviously he got that £300,000 off our books. Not that it made a difference because the club decided to slash the wage budget anyway, so we're still suffering. But he'd gone, and obviously the plan was to at least bring his replacement in. The problem is, however, we've got no money. We've got no money to bring anybody in. I couldn't offload anybody, so what that basically left me in a situation where I couldn't offload anybody. Obviously, the debt's pretty bad right now, which I don't understand, because we're doing pretty well, and I am attempting to cut the wage budget, so I don't understand. Maybe it's my all the add-ons on the transfers. Maybe that's what naffed me there. But nonetheless, it turned out to be a rather boring January transfer window in terms of transfers. The only out being that of Harry Maguire, the only in being that youngster who was already due. So basically, players that were already due to come in and due to leave. There was big attempts from my end to offload Deadwood like Anthony Martial and Palestri there. However, as obviously I've just said, realistically, nobody wanted to bring them in. So I'm hoping at the very least, the likes of Martial's wages can be gone at the end of the season, which is going to knock that. You're probably looking at about £400,000 of wages coming off there, just going into the summer. And now we've got through the very exciting part of our transfers, all 0 of them. Let's just have a look at the schedule. Let's see what we've been up to, how we've turned our fortunes around. Obviously, after that dreadful run in the last episode, I mean, when we did play the likes of Real Madrid, Manchester City, Liverpool, it was just non-stop, and it wasn't getting any better. Obviously, we did find ourselves outside of the top 4. Has that now changed? No, that hasn't now changed. We are still 2 points outside the top 4. Tottenham still have that game in hand there. So we are in touching distance of the top 4. Very much not in touching distance of Liverpool there. But in terms of actually being in the top 4, obviously, we still got that to fight for. In terms of the actual fixtures, when you were last with us, we did play out a 1-1 draw against Crystal Palace, and we have had out a reasonably favourable run-in since then, beating the likes of Bournemouth and Fulham, getting a 4-1 victory against Tottenham. That was a big one, considering where they are in the league. A relatively easy one in the end against Exeter, a 2-1 against Leeds, a 1-1 draw against Liverpool, of which we were doing well, and they just nicked right at the end there. A victory over PSV and a victory over Feyenoord in the Champions League group stages there. And a draw with Manchester City, which was frustrating because, again, we were leading in that one. But where we did find ourselves is we managed to just sneak into the 8th position. So we will go straight to the quarterfinals of the Champions League. So technically, we've already got further than last season's Champions League run because we did get knocked out by PSG in the first knockout round. But in here, we come into last 16. It is yet to be decided who we're going to play. So as soon as that does come up, hopefully by the end of this episode, I will show you guys. But where that leaves us is we are in the last 16 of the Champions League. We are still in fighting for the top 4, but quite frankly, there is no title race for us this season. Our last and probably only real hope is that in today's episode, when we do our replay against Manchester City, we can beat them, and that means we can progress into the FA Cup, because we already got absolutely battered by Liverpool in the Carabao Cup. So it is Manchester City in the FA Cup 4-round replay today, guys. And all we got, realistically, if I'm being honest, this is our last hope for got silverware this year. I'd like to think we've got a chance in the Champions League, but, you know, we've got to be realistic. The squad, though, if you just have a quick scan of it, is looking much healthier there. When you look at the likes of our potential, obviously 18-year-olds, 20, 25, 19, 20, 20, 21. Look at the likes of Sancho's only 26. Rashford's only 27. May have to have a conversation about him. Højlund's only 22 there. You got the likes of Udogie, who I brought in. Hannibal still a youngster there as well. And obviously, you've still got Aaron Wan-Bissaka in there. I really don't want to, but there might have to be a conversation soon about Marcus Rashford, because there's no doubt he is world class. I mean, just take a look in the bottom corner there. I mean, every goal every 3 games-ish. But these injuries are starting to creep up bit by bit. We're getting more and more frequent injuries, and quite frankly, I can't afford to keep having him injured all the time. So we might be okay for now, but if these injuries start picking up more, and if we start possibly seeing a trait of being injured, then I might have to maybe look at seeing if we can cash in and bring in another world-class player. Again, as I said, I don't want to, but I can't keep sitting around and waiting for injuries for him not to be injured. We have got Thomas Muller out injured as well, to be honest. Again, It was a bit of a daft sign. It seemed more of a nostalgic one, bringing Muller in. This time, he is on a city wage because of me. It is my fault. I'll probably try and offload him again in the summer, and I'll probably fail because no one will want to pay him that much. So again, this one's on me, but at least the others will be gone. So now we've had a catch up on the transfers and what we've been up to since the last episode, when we are obviously in an unbeaten run there. It is now time to get into the game against Manchester City. This is a team we're going for, obviously. An injured Rashford there. Højlund up front as always, who's scoring goals all the time again. Konate not so much. 7 goals for Konate, whereas we've got 17 goals for Højlund there. Sancho's coming on the right hand side. Fernandes is again, absolutely love him, but his age is starting to creep up a little bit. I'd very much just like to bring someone in to be a deputy to him. I'm hoping this guy will be it eventually, only being 18-year-old, but I don't know whether I'm going to be here long enough to develop it long term. But don't forget, the plan is to leave this save with a team ready to dominate again. You got Tchouaméni in midfield with Mount, Shaw, Delors, Martinez and Diamando in midfield there. Let's not waste any more time. Let's just get straight into the game against Manchester City. I got to be honest, in the last game, we very much did hold our own. So, obviously, now we're at home. I mean, it could be interesting. I mean, this definitely isn't a foregone conclusion, this game. Things have changed a little bit in terms of the tactics. The tempo higher. I've got a bit more discipline because we seem to be like a bit leaky and a bit lacking and making silly mistakes at the back. So at the moment, I've just kind of told them to just stick to your job. And then we'll build out to be more expressive from there. But there hasn't been any highlights. This looks like it's going to be the first highlight. Sancho in there. Can he do anything? Was that Garnacho goal there? Ooh. I think he might be on, I think he might be on. He's raised his hands at the back. That seems to be the giveaway in FM. When it goes to VAR and the players raise their hand while it's VAR, that seems to indicate that it's a goal. But fantastic start. First highlight, first shot, first goal. It makes a change. It makes a change from the last episode where it's been basically no highlights for the entire game. And as I say that, we are now at the 35th minute, and this is the second highlight of the game. I mean, the only saving grace is we are 1-0 up. Can we be 2-0 up? And the only saving grace is we are 2-0 up. This is a fantastic first half against Manchester City. I don't know what's gotten into us today, but I'm absolutely glad about it. It's about time we turned up for one of these camera games. So you guys can see what we're all about there. As you can see, we've had most of the ball-ish. They haven't even had a single shot the entire half. I'm not too sure what we're doing, but let's just keep doing it. We do actually find ourselves with a third highlight in the entire half. Can it be a third goal from a third highlight? Or am I just getting greedy now? Mount passes it back there, don't know why. Shaw can have a shot. No, he just does a sloppy pass there. But he was clever enough to get back and recover. Recover there. The highlight is still ongoing. Mount in there, who's probably going to be replaced soon if he doesn't fix that. Is Garnacho? No. Garnacho was never going to get ahead of him from there. But, I mean, 3 highlights, nearly 3 goals. 2-0 up at half-time. Yeah, you'd think it was Christmas or something. Well, the lads are all absolutely delighted. I mean, why wouldn't you be? We are 2-0 up. They haven't had a single shot in the entire game. We're like getting 50% of our shots on target here. Seems like being more disciplined. Since I've gone more disciplined, that is when that unbeaten run has started. So maybe just sticking to their job seems to be the key thing at the moment. Maybe I just haven't got the players to be too expressive, which is fine. Let's just get the job done. We've got to develop all these youngsters. As we say, the plan is to build this team. City here with a highlight. I mean, if we can keep them away for long enough, I'll be happy. Let's not concede an early goal. That was a nice easy take for Onana there. Which by the way, with Onana, hasn't made any... Well, I say hasn't made any. Made a lot less silly errors this season. He seems to have very much settled in this season. I think I'm just going to replace both the central midfielders there. It appears that they're both injured, and quite frankly, we can't afford any injuries. So let's bring them off. Hannibal likes to play more games, so he can come in there. We do want the energy in the midfield. We need to keep these players, obviously, on top of them there. And we have got another highlight in the 70th minute. We are playing out from the back. This isn't a time for us to do exactly that. Another highlight for Manchester City there. But we have managed to nick that back with Sancho. I think it might be time to freshen things up in a minute in the attack. Obviously, we have got those two midfielders in there. Come on, Diamande. Come on. Can we recover? Can we not make... Ooh, I thought that was an own goal there. I'm not going to lie. So we have made a few more transfers. Brought Kanate on for Hoyland. Brought Barco on for Garnacho on the left-hand side there. And we have brought Udogi on for Shaw on the left. He was getting pretty tired. And quite frankly, defensively, I'd like us to be as fresh as possible, just going into these last 20 minutes. Hopefully, we can see them out. Comfortably, preferably. We have got a highlight here, and he is carrying the ball a long way. Oh, come on. Can Fernandes put this game to... Oh, I mean... How was he offside? And there's no way he was offside there. That game was there. That game was there to be put to bed. We have got another highlight here. Can a doggy make the right decision? Pass it to Martins in the middle. And Greaser there to Delort. That's another position right back I'm maybe going to look to strengthen next season if we've got the money to do so. Sancho got lucky there, but Fernandes sort of half-asses that and loses the ball. What do we do? Oh, I mean, that's twice now in the last 5 minutes Diamande's done this. It's going to cost us. It's going to cost us eventually. We need to be more careful. Was that another corner? Because I thought it was a fantastic save there, but nevertheless, 8 minutes of added time. 8 minutes of added time. If that isn't Fergie time, I don't know what is. It's not even an hour. I don't understand where they've got 8 minutes from, but... Ooh. But there is only a minute of it left. And the journey goes on for the only trophy we realistically can win this season, the FA Cup. We have knocked one of all the big hitters out of the tournament there, beating Manchester City in the replay with Garnacho and Sancho in the goals there. That was absolutely fully deserved as well. Adding the discipline there seems to have done an absolute world of good for us there. Let's just check these injuries. They're only little injuries. Oh yeah, and we have got Newcastle to play next, who I'm pretty sure they're not doing too well, but you know, not exactly easy. We do find ourselves against Newcastle. And we're still waiting to find out what's going to happen in the Champions League last 16 there. So it does seem like it's going to be quite a while before the first knockout round is played for the Champions League. So we are yet to find... So we're not going to find out in this episode who we do play in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. But if it is juicy enough and if it is exciting enough, I will definitely come back for that Champions League tie there. So thank you for coming back for another episode of what seems to be the mixed bag season. We do find ourselves now 6th in the Premier League. We're in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. We're already out the Carabao Cup. We've just knocked out Manchester City in the FA Cup. Since that terrible run-in, we have not lost a single game, which is absolutely fantastic. A couple of draws in there. Crystal Palace, Everton, Liverpool not so bad. Not ideal, but we're winning as much as we can. There's still a handful of games to go before the end of the season. I will be back sometime, probably for the last 16 of the Champions League. See where we find ourselves. If it's a juicy tie, we'll go through it. If not, and I get through it, we'll come back towards the run-in of the end of the season. See what we've been up to towards the end of the season. See what tournaments and where we are in the league. And see if we've got anything to salvage from this season, or whether this was just about building those youngsters ready for our third and possibly final season, where we're going to take this team, we're going to add just a little bit more magic. Hopefully, by the end of that season, we'll have had this team ready in place to go and conquer the world for seasons to come, which is exactly what Manchester United have been missing for years. An organised, disciplined plan with players that aren't too expensive, developing players, and not on ridiculous wages. Seems a pretty simple plan. Not one that Manchester United have been able to follow for a lot of years. But don't worry, I'm here. We are going to follow that plan. Ignore all the debt. That's not my fault, I think. Probably a little bit is my fault, but that's not the point. But nevertheless, the plan of this rebuild is exactly those 5 things I've just put on my fingers there. So guys, thank you very much for coming out and watching. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, like the episode, comment down below. Who would you like us to get in the last 16 of the Champions League? Are you disappointed with the January transfer window? I know I am, but you try offloading Anthony Martial at £250,000 a week. Nobody wants him. Nobody wants him. So at the end of the season, he's gone anyway, but they stripped my wage budget. I've got no transfer budget. What was I supposed to do? What was I supposed to do? I had nothing for January, nothing exciting. But the exciting thing is last 16 in the Champions League, and we are now in the 5th round of the FA Cup, which is, the standards of which Manchester United need to be at. Hopefully the fans will be a little bit happier with us. But guys, again, as I've said a couple of times already, thank you very much for coming out and watching, and I'll see you guys, hopefully, for a juicy quarter-final tie. And don't forget, guys, I'll see you in the next one.